Hi, my name's John. And so with Persona 5 Strikers coming out within the next week or so, I wanted to do a more kind of train of thought and conversational video talking about the things I want to see specifically in this new installment in the Persona franchise. And so if this video doesn't seem as scripted or as focused as the videos usually are, that's because honestly, it's not. I just wanted to kind of get my thoughts about this new game out there before it released. So, if you like this kind of content, you want to see more of it coming from this channel, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss another upload. And if you haven't seen yet, we officially launched some merch on our Teespring page. So if you like this Akechi Crow design that I'm wearing right now, or our Hanakatoba design, which will be up right here, make sure to check that out whenever you get a chance. The link for that will be in the description down below. But with all that out of the way, let's just jump into the video. So when thinking about things that I really want to see in this new title, I think that expanding upon the characterization in a positive and organic way for all of the Phantom Thieves is kind of at the top of my priority list here. Because while Persona 5 set an awesome kind of groundwork for a lot of these characters' stories, I think that some characters like An and Haru, while still amazing, I think that there's some room for improvement and expansion on their characters so that they can be a more holistic kind of character, and they just deserve more screen time because on Social Link kind of focused on the characters around her less so than herself. There is definitely that personal growth there, but I wasn't overly thrilled with her development when I think that she is the character that had by far the most potential to have a really dynamic story going forward. But after the Kamoshida incident, in the main plot, she slowly lost relevance. I don't like what they did with her during the Madarame plotline, and I think that this new game is a really great place to let An shine, and Haru in particular just never really got the screen time she deserved. What screen time she did get, she made amazing use of, and her Social Link, in my personal opinion, is really good. I talk a lot about that in my Psychology of Haru video. I think that they're both amazing characters, but I think the whole cast could really benefit from an expansion on their characters, see where they are now versus during the events of Persona 5. And just in general, with this whole road trip aesthetic it looks like they're going for, I, more than anything, want to see their relationships with each other as a holistic group develop more. Because that's the one thing that I think was kind of lacking in Persona 5, is their group dynamics. They just kind of seem like individuals who were all connected to Joker in some way that were working towards a shared goal. But I didn't see the strong relationships between members outside of their relationships with Joker that were more apparent in a game like Persona 4, where the group felt like a friend group and they all felt very organically like friends. And so that's something I really want to see, is individual character development to some extent. I'm not expecting anything gigantic, but at least marginal steps forward and additions to these cast members, and also that interplay among members. And so, sticking with that character kind of theme, the second thing that I really want to see from this new title is an amazing villain. I think that Dr. Maruki, I talk so much about Dr. Maruki on this channel. I think he really set the standard for what an antagonist should be. I guess villain isn't necessarily the word I want to go with there, because I just want an overarching antagonist that's really compelling. Because Dr. Maruki, for instance, really rises above and really elevated the Persona 5 narrative for me personally, because while Shido was kind of the human big bad in Persona 5, like vanilla, I never really cared about him as a villain. He was just the big evil politician guy that you had to take down, and there's no real conflict with that because he is bad, he is wrong. Even past that, when you're going into the depths of Mementos and essentially going to kill God, there's really no question of what's right and wrong, what's good and bad. It's a very black and white situation, whereas Maruki really, you could see his perspective. You could see why he wanted the things he wanted. And as I've heard from countless people, it almost felt wrong for a lot of the player base to defeat him because they actually kind of agreed with his ideas. And I love that in an antagonistic character, because he's antagonistic towards you, but both ideals, you can kind of see both sides of the coin there. And so that's something that I really want in Persona 5 Strikers. It doesn't have to be every antagonist. Like, not all of the palace leaders have to be sympathetic. We can have our Kamoshidas who we just love to hate because they're just abhorrent humans. But I also really want some overarching Maruki style of character who's the final antagonist, who you almost have to, it almost makes you think before you actually defeat them. Like, is what I'm doing right? Is it wrong? That's the kind of thing that I would love to see from this game. It's not a deal breaker if we don't get that, but I would adore that because I think Persona games make you think. Antagonists like, I'm gonna give a quick spoiler warning for Persona 4, so if you have not played Persona 4 yet, do not, just skip to the time code that I will have in the description down below. But I want a villain like Adachi, who, while on the outset, he's very antagonistic, but if you dig a little bit deeper, you can kind of see where his headspace is at, or that Maruki kind of antagonist. So that's what I am looking for, definitely, from this game. And just in general, the third thing that I want to talk about is just how memorable the palaces in Persona 5 are. And I think that if this is going to be a continuation of that narrative, I know it's more of a Musou style of game, it's not really like a dungeon crawler JRPG kind of deal, but I think that almost gives it more freedom to have really iconic and memorable locales, because the maps can just be much wider and more sprawling in nature. If Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity or any Dynasty Warrior games are any indication. And so I'm really excited to see how they're able to construct the palaces in this game. And I want them to be as memorable as Madarame's Museum, or even though it's the worst palace in the game, Okumura's spaceship is still incredibly memorable to me. And so having that be the norm for this is really, really essential, in my opinion. And I know that's not a hot take by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm curious as to see how they can continue to create these unique and varied locales based off of whatever antagonists they may have in this game. And so that brings me to the fourth thing that I really want, and that's some great unexpected DLC or unlockable characters. Because again, I know that there's, I think it's 2 new party members and then the core Phantom Thieves crew. And so I don't know if they've announced DLC or unlockable characters, but I really want to see, at the very least, a Akechi make an appearance at some point as a playable character in this game. My favorite part of Age of Calamity when that game came out was the unexpected and the expected unlockable characters in that game. Because it just brings so many more diverse play styles into it, which is so much fun to experiment with to see which one you fit with the best while you're playing the game. But it's also just like fun to have all of these varied kinds of characters. So seeing Akechi, seeing Kasumi, who we know isn't going to be part of the core game, just because this is more of like, if I'm understanding it correctly, more of a continuation from base Persona 5 instead of Persona 5 Royal. And so seeing them would be awesome, and it would make a lot more sense for that to be kind of more of a DLC pack. Even getting to fight as someone super unexpected like Sae, or even like something funny like Sojiro. I don't know, I would love to see that, because these are people who know of the Phantom Thieves, they know of the metaverse, but they never actually get to go into it. And so I know it's kind of fading away from like the logic of the world, but it would still be so interesting and so fun to see those kinds of characters come in, even though it's like an alternate universe or characters who you wouldn't normally see in the metaverse. And so I think that if that comes at the cost of some DLC to get these kinds of different characters, personally, I'm okay with that. You know, Atlus is notorious for their DLC, so I expect some kind of DLC in some way, shape, or form coming with this game. And so instead of it just being like costumes and very cosmetic things, throwing characters in, if they're not already in the base game, would be an incentive for me to get that DLC. Maybe new locations, maybe new maps. That'd be fantastic, but at the very least getting characters like Kasumi and Akechi, if they're not already just unlockable characters, which I hope they are in the base game, adding them in retroactively would be I'd be over the moon. I would be over the moon. And so that kind of brings me to the last thing that I really, really want. And I know that this isn't a groundbreaking take, but I want a definitive conclusion on the Phantom Thieves story at the end of this game. I don't want it left up for interpretation. I'm looking at you, Persona 5 Royal. I want a definitive period at the end of the sentence on their story, so that we can kind of start officially looking forward to whatever Persona 6 could be. Just because, I don't know, I don't love it when stories kind of leave that open-ended, up for interpretation. Will it come back? Will it not? I don't love it when franchises get milked. Just let it end and let it be that. You know, I guess just close the chapter with its dignity intact, so that there's not this constant stringing on of plot points that are canon, but also not canon, and some are kind of canon. Just give me an ending. Just give me an ending that I can be happy and satisfied with. Please. I don't want to constantly be wondering, is Akechi dead? Is he not? I have no idea based on the ending of Persona 5 Royal. And so, if this could answer that question, awesome. If we're just assuming that it's the events of Persona 5 that happen, and he's never brought up in this one, then perfect. That gives me the answer I'm looking for in regard to the Akechi question. Just give me solace, give me closure. I don't know. I just want closure with this game so I can be satisfied with the Phantom Thieves saga, and I can focus my attention on wondering what Persona 6 could look like, whether that's 2 years down the road or 10 years. However long it takes. I don't know. I want closure. But yeah, I don't know. Those are kind of my thoughts on Persona 5 strikers. That's what I really want to see from this game. I didn't really talk about gameplay stuff just because I'm assuming it's going to be a typical kind of Musou game with its own like Persona kind of twist to it. I'm sure they've talked about that at some point, what it's kind of going to look like from a combat perspective. I haven't really looked into it. Again, I'm more than happy to just be surprised with what they give me. I'm sure I'm going to enjoy it regardless. So I don't know, do you like this kind of more train of thought kind of video? I figure I'd give it a shot with something more like this, just talking about a game that's coming out that I'm excited for. So tell me that too in the comments. Do you like this kind of video? And would you want to see more of this kind of stuff, whatever form that might take? But as always, if you like this video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because it's just, in general, really, really appreciated. And make sure to ring that notification bell so you never miss another upload. And if you didn't know already, the ThoughtBubble community has a fantastic Discord, so if you haven't joined that already, make sure to check the link in the description down below, and make sure to give that a join. Everyone in the community is just so wonderful and so welcoming. I'm sure that you will have a fantastic time there, and we would love to have you. But as always, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, a fantastic rest of your week, and why not even a fantastic rest of your month. And I will see you in the next video. Later.